Hello, bonsoir, and welcome to the Get French Football News Show. I'm your host, Nathan Staples, and joining me this week, as always, are Eric Devin and Philippe Bargil. Liga is back and with another bang as teams begin to jostle for position and show off their newest recruits now the window is shut. But before we talk about all that and some interesting games of the weekend, here are the latest headlines. Paris Saint-Germain continued their early season struggles in a 1-1 draw with Saint-Etienne at the Parc des Princes. Robert Berich's injury time equaliser cancelling out a Lucas penalty. Of bigger concern, however, might be the injury to Layvin Kurzawa. The left-back was forced to come off injured against Les Verts and remains a doubt for tomorrow's Champions League game tomorrow evening with Arsenal. Saturday's early match also saw one of Ligue 1's Champions League representatives stumble with a Maxime Gonalon red card, giving Bordeaux the opportunity for it to be the first visiting team to win at the Parc OL. Jocelyn Gourvenec's Chargers took full advantage of that, notching a 3-1 win that also saw Alexandre Lacazette ruled out for several weeks with a hamstring issue, a painful blow ahead of Wednesday's visit to Dinamo Zagreb. One side who did look impressive ahead of European competition were Monaco, the Principality club hammering hosts Lille 4-1 behind goals from Dribbble Cissé, Adama Traoré, Fabinho and Camille Gleek. The win sees Monaco top the table on 10 points ahead of Wednesday's trip to Wembley Stadium to take on Tottenham Hotspur. Elsewhere in the multiplex, Carl Toko Nkambi's superb solo goal provided a fine finish as hosts Angers defeated Dijon in a match that saw both sides finish with 10 men. In Bastia, on loan Swedish international Pierre Bengtsson marked his debut for the Corsicans with a free kick 10 minutes from time, the host prevailing over Toulouse 2-1. Last week's leaders, Guingamp, remain unbeaten, but were only able to record a point at home to Montpellier in a 1-1 draw. While Lorient's situation at the foot of the table is beginning to look dire already, their 2-0 loss at home to Nancy sees them without a point and 3 adrift of their opponents in 19th. Sunday's early match also saw a promoted team win on the road as Metz recorded their 3rd victory in 4 matches, Mevla Erding's hat-trick leading the visitors in a 3-0 win at Nantes. Rennes hosted Caen in the early evening match, and the hosts recorded a 2-0 win. Paul Georges and Tep marking his return to action with a brilliant run and assist for Sajin Perchic's a goal in stoppage time. Sunday's final match pitted Marseille against hosts Nice in one of the division's most bitter rivalries, and the Allianz Riviera, was duly rewarded with an exciting contest, with debutant Mario Balotelli notching a brace, Florent Thauvin scoring a fine solo goal, and William Cyprien providing the winner late on as the hosts remain unbeaten and they are level on points with leaders Monaco. In Ligue 2, surprise package Amiens topped the table after a 3-1 win over Tours, while Reims remain in second. In other injury news, Saint-Etienne's Sheikh Mbengue could miss up to 6 weeks with a knee injury, while the injury sustained by Monaco's Daniel Subasic on international duty isn't thought to be serious, and he could still feature on their Champions League fixture on Wednesday. And that's the news. But remember, for all your latest, head on over to our website at www.getfootballnewsfrance.com and follow us on Twitter at GFFN. We start this week with Sunday evening's match, and it was an exciting encounter between the rivals Nice and Marseille. The hosts came out on top thanks to a double from their new signing, Mario Balotelli. Philip, how was the Italians' debut for Nice?
Well, he couldn't do much wrong, could he? A brace against Marseille, so it will endear him to the Nice fans. It started with a penalty. It was quite good to see that he still has this ruthlessness about him, as Gomis tried to sort of make him lose concentration before taking a spot kick. But he didn't lose concentration. He put it away past Pelé. It was a great first half hour. It was really end-to-end stuff. Marseille were going for it. Thauvin equalised not long afterwards. I thought actually I need to praise actually Marseille more than Nice, because I was actually impressed by two of their players, who's very unfancy player. It was not Gomis, it was not Thauvin. It was first of all Zambo Anguissa, who played quite well in midfield. Just by the by, the penalty was conceded by a new signing, William Vainqueur, who, it's a bad mistake to get in, and he had an okay game, not great, but he was okay. So Zambo Anguissa was the first Marseille to have a great game in midfield, and the other one was Laia, who put the ball for Thauvin. And I don't know, I just find Marseille's defense to have very much improved. And Balotelli was good at taking people on, Playa as well. He really tied the Marseille defense, but Nice didn't really test Pelé that much in that game, and it's only when Marseille actually took the lead, a penalty scored by Gomis, and Marseille just conceded that second goal by Balotelli. It was a cross from the right, a very simple goal. Marseille would be disappointed to concede a goal this easily. And then that strike from William Cyprien at the end, it's one of many Nice shots that was straight at Pelé, but unfortunately for him, he did not have a strong enough hand to put it around the post, so it did go in. I actually think this is not a deserved win for Nice. I reckon both sides played such a great game of football that it should have been a score draw. 2-2 would have been a good reflection, and had Marseille train more with the same defense, with the same back four, which probably won't be the case, as Bedima will be back from injury sometime this season. I'm not sure when. I think they could have gained the point, which is great news for them, which is great news for McCourt for the takeover. But great to see that Nice really wanted those 3 points in the derby, and that they got it, courtesy of a Balotelli brace.
Eric, I want to mention, Phillips briefly touched on that Nice really came back into the game after Marseille had put themselves in front, and it was a little bit of a switch from Lucien Favre. What did you think to his initial formation with those three at the back and the wing backs, and the way he changed it once Marseille were back in front?
Yeah, I think that it was a bold move from Favre to bring on Belhanda and I'm sorry, my brain's going blank. The sub.
Was it Cyprien?
No,
Cyprien started. I'll tell you that in a minute.
Sorry, Aceric in place of Playa. Yeah. So starting with that 4-4-2, it seemed as if Balotelli was taking a central role where Playa tried to go to the wings and stretch play to allow the fullbacks to bomb on, and they did. Dalbert didn't have the strongest match, but I think Pereira was really impressive, and I think he got the tactics right. From the off, I think that the two central midfielders I had a bit of worry about, Coziello and Seri, did really well, but I think Cyprien honestly really ran the show for me. Not only did he score the goal, but he had great energy from the center of the pitch. Did really well to protect that defense. Even allowed Bison Sarr to get forward a little bit, which you're not expecting from the two of them necessarily as center backs. So I think he got it right from the offset. He's perhaps would have been a little bit unhappy about the way that for example, Thauvin was closed down on his goal. But yeah, he needed that proactive double change and to bring on Belhanda and to bring on Aceric, and it proved to be the difference. I think that going forward, I think he still needs to hammer out what exactly these tactics are going to be. But leaving Balotelli to occupy the penalty box and to have a playmaker floating around behind him and to have the fullbacks bomb on, I think it's going to be effective. Whether that ends up being a three-man midfield with Remy Walter or Cyprien in the middle, along with Coziello and Seri, or whether it's a four-man defense with two central midfielders, I think remains to be seen. But given the fact that Nice don't really have out-and-out wide players in terms of midfielders, I think that playing Pereira and Enrique at wingbacks makes a little bit more sense for the time being. They also have Suke, who can play as a wingback as well, and I think that gets the best out of them. They do have Arnaud Lasamba, who they brought in over the summer, but he's still a bit raw, and I think that the 3-5-2 makes sense for the time being, and it also allows a little bit of flexibility in terms of adapting in the match, which we saw firsthand. The two changes resulted in 2 goals once the substitutes had arrived.
Yeah,
Am I right in thinking that Ricardo Pereira can play anywhere on the wing? Left, right, defense, midfield?
Sure,
Yeah,
he's a
but-
Guerrero
Yeah.
type player, obviously in the opposite
That's pretty
flank,
good.
though.
Yeah, it's a good weapon to have.
Yeah.
And talking about that,
In both formations.
yes, and there was another debutant for Nice in this game that was a surprise on transfer deadline day, and that's Dante, formerly of Wolfsburg and Bayern Munich. How did you think he fared, Philip?
Yeah. So I thought he was okay. He was probably not 100% at fault on Thauvin goal. I think for first in Liga, it was not. Not so bad. Marseille didn't attack all that much after the first half hour, so it's a bit difficult to judge him on this on this game. But I thought he was he was quite good against quite a side who has quite a good attacking flair players. And I'm not sure that most Ligue 1 games will be as heated as this one. This is a particularly heated derby, probably the most heated one in France. So I reckon he'll do fine, because most weekend games won't be like this. I don't expect him to have such a good striker like Buffy Gomis to contend with. And I think he marshalled the young guy Sarr, who's not a professional player yet, and Paul Bates, who's a very experienced centre back. So a good debut for Dante.
No, and it's a really interesting signing for a club of like Nice to make. But let's talk about Marseille, and we've mentioned them briefly, Eric, and they were a very big part of this game as well. And Florian Thauvin yet again was really their big player again, and leading the line and being that leader again. How important is he to them this season?
We've seen what he can do. That half season he had at Bastia was really impressive a few years ago. He just has to have the right motivation, and he seemed to have lacked that. In years past, obviously, this team had a lot of other players like Savandre Ayew, Andre Pierre Gignac, and others that could take on that scoring mantle. But now, with Michy Batshuayi having departed in the summer, there's sort of a void there. I mean, we have Buffy Gomis with his international experience in the Champions League, but he's a little bit slower. He's a little bit older at this point in his career. He's always been slow, but I think that if Thauvin's given that free role and he has a space to cut into, I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, the issue, of course, here is how to work out both Cabella and Thauvin on the same pitch. We talked about Cabella having had a wonderful time at Montpellier and Thauvin having been good at Bastia, but both of those players at the best points in their career were really given sort of a free role to attack. Now, the question is, can they coexist? And if they can't, how do Marseille sort of deal with that? Who gets the priority here? Thauvin's a bit younger than Cabella, but I think Cabella offers a bit more in terms of tracking back and defensive work, but he'd prefer to operate in a central role, whereas Thauvin can operate on the wing. And this 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1 sort of, I suppose, with Leia Seca off of Gomis, seems to make sense tactically. I think that having Bouna Sarr on the opposite flank also works well. He had a couple good crosses and did fairly well in terms of his work rate and defensively tracking back. So I think that this formation works, but I would question whether it can bring the best out of Cabella. Cabella could potentially play off of Gomis, but if Thauvin's in this sort of form that he showed last night, and he's played decently, honestly, throughout the season thus far, I think he would have to be given the edge here, and that Franck Passi should persist with this 4-4-2, as it seems to get the best out of an informed player.
Yeah, and you're right there. Thauvin was superb at points, and he has been so far this season. But where you fit Remy Cabella into that equation, we shall see. But both these teams
just don't put it on set pieces.
Yeah, no, not from that first one last night. Was not a good one. Shall we say that? That's probably being polite, but more of the same. Both teams, I would say, for the next couple of games, because that was a good game last night. But we move on to the champions who dropped points again on Friday evening after a late Robert Beric goal cancelled out a Lucas penalty. Eric, What went wrong for the champions in this one?
I think we saw the magical and disappearing Hatem Ben Arfa. There were other players to blame. Hesse's first touch was poor. He didn't work to put himself about in space, which was absolutely essential with that three-man defense for Saint-Etienne. But yeah, there wasn't of the attacking players besides Lucas. Nobody seemed to be working to create space to get in behind without the pace and directness of Aurier and again Kurzawa for half the match. The width and attacking impetus that PSG enjoy from their fullbacks is also missing. And by the time Di Maria and Cavani came on, they're obviously showing their rush. They're tired from their international qualification matches over the past week. PSG just weren't their sharpest. Saint-Etienne were their usual resolute selves. I thought Ruffier had a fantastic match. Perrin, Pogba were both very solid as well. So yeah, it was just really a matter of Saint-Etienne playing well, and I think the players from PSG, the new players from PSG, that is Hesse and Ben Arfa, are really struggling in these roles. I was a little bit surprised also that Matuidi wasn't withdrawn for Rabiot. I think Rabiot can offer a little bit more going forward from midfield in terms of moving with the ball at his feet, and I think that could have opened up some more opportunities for the team going forward. But perhaps he's being rested for tomorrow's match against Arsenal. But yeah, just a lot of poor individual performances, a lack of coherence, I think. Ben Arfa tried to take up central positions, but it seemed like he was getting in Verratti's way a little bit at times. He tried to go on the wing, but then there was not as much space for Meunier to make overlapping runs. There just didn't seem to be coherence for the team as well as poor individual performances. So I think if PSG can respond with a strong result tomorrow, and going forward, we can write this off as just it's a bad coming together of injuries and fatigue on the parts of Di Maria and Cavani. Once Pastore is fit, I think the team can rebound well. But let's face it. I mean, you're 3 points off the pace after 4 matches. It's frustrating. It's perhaps not what some, I would say, unrealistic fans are expecting, but it's by no means a catastrophe. Even if PSG were to say lose to Arsenal tomorrow, which would be less than ideal, they're still very well positioned to advance in their Champions League group. They're still very well positioned to do well in the league, especially once Nice and Monaco start their own European exertions as well. So, we've seen that Hesse, again, maybe is lacking the sharpness, the fitness that we'd want from a center forward in that system. But let the team come back to its full self in terms of injuries, and then I think then we can pass judgment. I think it was just a lack of squad depth. It does underline, again, their lack of having bought a striker in the summer. But yeah, I don't think it's something that we should be overly worried about personally.
Yeah. Any ideas why Hesse started at the false 9 or centre forward? Eric, because I mean, you watch more La Liga than me. I mean, isn't that guy supposed to be a winger or something?
Yeah, no, he's definitely he's not the same type of player as Ronaldo, obviously, but he's a wide player that likes to cut inside. He does have a knack for goals. I remember, let's see, I guess it must have been the 2013-14 season. He did get quite a bit of match time for Real Madrid, and I was able to see him both in Champions League and La Liga, and he looked really bright. He had a good knack for goal, a good energy, good directness, but he was never played as a center forward. I mean, not perhaps literally not never, but he seemed to be most effective cutting in from the wing. I personally, if I were to I would have opted for that 4-3-3. I would have had Ben Arfa play the central role with Hesse and Lucas wide, because that seems to get the best out of both of them. Lucas, I think, is fairly adept at both wings. Ben Arfa has played as a false 9 in the past. He played that in the Trophée des Champions. I think he scored a goal and certainly had his moments. So I think that Emery did what he could with the personnel under the circumstances, given the South Americans returning, but perhaps didn't set them up in the right way.
Yeah, what I'm fearing is some kind of backlash if PSG don't actually put out a good performance against Arsenal tomorrow, which I don't think will happen, because most of the performances the performances against Metz, it was not great. It was pretty much the same as against Saint-Etienne, but in the end, PSG managed to score 4 goals. So of course, when you look at the scoreboard, you said 4-0. Okay, that's fine, but it hit some kind of weaknesses in there, which were overlooked, of course, because of the scoreline. At Monaco, PSG were completely outplayed, and Yardim completely outwitted Unai to win the game. And Galtier's tactic yesterday was quite simple. I mean, he put a 3-5-2. It was parking the bus, and to be honest, PSG didn't really, I felt, deserve to score. From that penalty, I didn't think it was a penalty, and actually I thought it was a fair game between two sides with a decent plan, and I wasn't, it wasn't that much of a surprise to see Saint-Etienne equalise. So defending was not particularly good on that action, but the point I want to make is that Arsenal. I can't see Arsenal, sitting deep, playing a 3-5-2 or 4-5-1, very defensive-minded tomorrow evening. So this is why I think it will be quite open. I just hope that Unai did put Cavani on the bench in order to put him in the starting 11 tomorrow. We saw that Arsenal did not have the best of games against Southampton. They needed the full 90 minutes to win the game on a penalty. So I don't know. I'm just not that concerned about the current form. I treat this a bit like when Juventus started poorly. It's not to give a head start to everybody else, but just to say, okay, we're trying things out. We have a new manager. It's not there's a lot of pressure in there, and all the teams are playing the same tactic against PSG, which is putting players behind the ball, and sometimes it does win. And we did forecast this. We did say without Ibrahimovic it was going to be harder, and it is. It just is. I mean, it's quite logical, really. Hesse needs to find his feet, and Unai needs to find his new formation, and that's probably going to take a while.
Yeah, I think Hesse needs to find his head more than anything, because.
Yeah, I seem to recall the runs he was making. The ones he was making were just not good. It was just he was not watching his teammates while he was running in front of them. I mean, it didn't happen all game long, but most of his actions when he wanted the ball to be fed to him, he wasn't really watching where the play was going, so that was a bit frustrating. But either way, I mean, if you're not accustomed to play a centre forward, and you get something at the deep end, at centre forward, in Ligue 1, defensively, again in a 3-5-2, with experienced guys like Loic Perrin, breathing down your neck, not easy. I'm not defending him or anything, but it's just, put anyone in there. I mean, Zlatan did struggle once or twice in Ligue 1 to score a goal as well. So, you put a small guy who has no real experience of playing in that position. You can fully understand why. He struggled.
I'm glad you saw him make a run. I don't think I saw one all afternoon.
Well, I saw some highlights.
He was extremely poor, as maybe even being putting it kindly. I agree that he's not really a centre forward. He's much more of a winger, but put something.
I don't feel that's why he was bought. I feel like he was. It was to. First of all, to add the numbers and to put more wits in the side. Not to be Cavani's understudy. That's really not what I thought he would be. That's just it.
That's a lack of options for you, isn't it? But Eric, let's talk about Saint-Etienne and their successes. And I wanted to talk about Kevin Malcuit, who had an interesting game. Is probably the best way to put it. He almost gives away a penalty. He then does give away a penalty, and then he sets up the winner. He had a mixed bag of the game, didn't he?
Yeah, I think I've pushed for Malcuit to be included in the recent past. I think in the 3-5-2, he does make the most sense on that right wing. He certainly offers a lot more going forward than does Kevin Teofil Catherine, who's now been moved to center back in this new formation. But yeah, he's the sort of wonderfully electric player who will do something brilliant and then turn around and give away a penalty, give away a booking. So he's wonderful to watch in Ligue 1, but is he the type of player who's going to be relied upon for Saint-Etienne in the Europa League against more impressive teams? I mean, again, they've got Mainz on Thursday, who are not one of the big rivals in their group. But should they progress to the knockout stages, is he of the kind of quality that they're going to need to advance, or to break into Champions League places in Ligue 1? I just don't know. I think that this team is sort of needs must at this point in time because of the absence of Sheikh Mbengue, and they've just got to sort this out. So, he's a fun player to watch, but as we saw with the penalty, and again, as Philip rightly said, maybe that was a soft penalty, but the incident in the first half, I believe on 38 or 40 minutes, was probably more of a penalty. So it would not have been surprising to see him concede 2 penalties in this match.
Yeah, the one on Matuidi, I can't believe the referee's not seeing it. He's absolutely thwacked him in midair, but never mind. Referees sometimes don't have.
Do we know? I'm changing the subject here a bit, but do we know how much Levin Kurzawa is out for?
He's a doubt for tomorrow, so not long.
I think he's definitely not in for tomorrow. I don't think he's even in the squad.
I haven't seen the squads, but Emery did say.
I've seen some things on Twitter saying that Ben Arfa and Kurzawa are not going to play tomorrow.
L'Equipe reported that Emery had said that his injury is not severe and that he's a match time decision for tomorrow.
And he did struggle for almost that entire game, didn't he? He was very quiet, but especially even when he was on the field in that first half, which was such a shame after we mentioned on the preview show that he should keep playing. But that's the worry about. That's the final point I really want to make on PSG, Philip. They've obviously, if Kurzawa's injured for this one, they've had Aurier out as well. Thiago Silva's still not quite fully fit and won't be match fit at least for this one. Is there a worry for their defence going forward?
No, I wouldn't say so. Now that David Luiz has been sold, no, I don't think it's. No, I think we're fine. Kurzawa is a major work. Kurzawa is just a shame, really. I mean, I've got every confidence in Maxwell fulfilling for that well. We've got 2 very high quality left backs. So no, I'm not too worried about that. It's more the going forward part and how to use Jesse. But again, Unai will see him in training for a couple of months and decide accordingly. I'm sure things will pick up. But this is bound to happen. A game against Saint-Etienne, very organised side, and not too bad going forward. This is bound to happen once or twice at home at least. This is, I mean, it really shouldn't surprise any of us that PSG will find it hard to beat sides who part the bus basically.
Yeah, and let's hope that I think Unai Emery will have his fingers crossed that he can have 4 fit defenders get through that game against Arsenal tomorrow evening. But we move on to probably PSG's closest challengers, or what we expected to be at the start of the season. Lyon, who lost for the second week in a row as Bordeaux ran out 3-1 winners. Philip, it all went downhill. It wasn't great to start off with, but it went very much downhill after Maxime Gonalon was sent off.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating because French clubs just tend to do that. They tend to finish second, and then just before the Champions League comes around, they just offer a complete nothing performance and get beaten by a side that is much weaker than them on paper. What is quite commendable from Genesio is that he gives Youth its chance. We haven't really seen Mamana yet. I don't think he gave a start, first career start for young Jakabi at centre back. who played next to Yang Gambira. So not quite sure he's the best guy you want to start your career next to. But he wasn't. It started off quite well with Kalulu scoring the opening goal. There was a bit of controversy around this goal because Kalulu was offside, but the ball was finally given by Contento. So in the end, the referee made a good decision, and Lyon just went downhill. They had it all soon up. They basically stopped working. Bordeaux got more of the ball, and I'm not really going to be too critical of Jacobi. It's his first game for Lyon. What I really should say is about the midfield trio. Gonalon was not protecting his defense enough, which is really his main job. And you can see, compared to the season where Lyon ran PSG quite close, that this midfield trio of Ferry, Gonalon, and Tolisso worked extremely well together. And Dade is almost a passenger compared to the other two. I mean, he goes fast and all that, but he just doesn't seem to click the same way as Tolisso does. And so yeah, first you have this equalizing goal, which is highly avoidable. I also think Lopez should have saved that. I mean, it doesn't look unstoppable. It looks quite central as well. So it's a bit strange for a goalkeeper like Lopez to concede a goal like that. And then the unexplainable happens with Gonalon trying to break Malcolm's leg, and it's a bit of a miracle that he didn't, because he really put his studs in there. The referee gives him a caution, and then he sees, then he has a sink, and then gives him a red card. 2 seconds later, Ferry just kicks another Bordeaux player, and you have no idea what's going on really. Sertic scores a second goal for Bordeaux, and then another quite dramatic event happens with Lacazette going off injured, and he's probably not going to play against Zagreb on Wednesday. Now, I have been quite, shall we say, wary of where Lyon would be without Lacazette, because I don't think Fekir has had a great start to the season. But he did have almost a year out from the game. Same for Cornet, but Lacazette is or was on fire, and a lot of critics did say Genesio shouldn't have started him. Of course, it's easy to say that once he's injured. But yeah, I'm really disappointed and quite frustrated for every Lyon fan who are listening to us, because this should have been 3 points in the bag, but it isn't, and now the Champions League looks to be an uphill battle, and I just hope that Zagreb won't be another Ghent.
It is a worry, isn't it? Now that now the current form they're in, really, Lyon. But Eric, I wanted to talk about Yapu, Mango, and Biwo, and we've mentioned the defenders last week fell asleep, and he's not had the best of games here, really, again, has he?
No, he hasn't. I mean, the last goal was a bit of a freak. It was a deflection, Menez. But the other two, Lopez is normally reliable. I agree with Philip that he was at fault in that, but it just was a really poor performance. Diakabi, I actually rate very highly. He was fantastic in not the most recent under-19 tournament, but the summer prior, he was really impressive for the under-19 team. I do think that he's got a big future. The question is, who plays next to him? And neither Nkulu or Yang Gumbiwa have really distinguished themselves over the past two matches. I think that down the stretch last season, Yang Gumbiwa had been fantastic in the run-in, and I was looking forward to, he's got the hang of things now. He's got a good partnership with Titi. Titi goes, okay, sure, but you've got Nkulu coming in, and you're still going to have two experienced Ligue 1 center backs, international players. Yang Gumbiwa hasn't been capped recently for France, but does have caps from his time at Montpellier and at Roma. So I wasn't too worried about things. But, we have an uncharacteristically poor match from Maxime Gonalon in front of the pair of them, and that's frustrating to see as well, that Diakabi, on his debut wasn't being afforded protection by the captain. But at the same time, as you rightly say, without Corentin Tolisso there, perhaps Gonalons is a bit more stretched. Tolisso, is a fantastic player with his work rate, getting up and down the pitch. And he would have been on that side that Malcolm was on. So Gonalons herring over to make that tackle. I think we have an issue there. So, yeah, I think that the inclusion of Darder in that role was what was frustrating for me. I understand wanting to give Tolisso a rest. Inter 21's had a busy week. I think pretty sure Tolisso played 180 minutes over those two matches. But maybe play with the system a little bit. Perhaps opt for a 4-2-3-1 with Ferry and Gonalons holding together. Darder can sit behind the front three and act as a sort of playmaker. There are other options there besides playing Darder in that role, because again, he's a fantastic player going forward. He just does not have it to play defensively, to work defensively well enough in a 4-3-3. We see the likes of Blaise Matuidi and Marco Verratti succeeding there at PSG. But yeah, that's because they work and they track back. They love to tackle.
Oh, I think Eric's dropped out there mid-sentence. But I will just mention quickly my opinion on Yapu Mango and Biwa. And I'm going to call him Mr. Stick or Twist, and there's a reason for that, because he never twists. He tends to stick. And if you were going in a sweet shop with Yapu Mango and Biwa, he'll buy you the penny sweets because he won't commit to anything. All three goals are at least partially his fault. The first one is there's three players around Malcolm, and it's Mbiwa and the young centre-back and Gonalons, and all three decide to stand off him and allow him the chance to shoot, which, yes, Lopez, you mentioned, Philip, he shouldn't really say.
Jacobi is closer, though.
Yes, but all three don't.
I don't think you blame Younger on that one.
I'm giving him some blame.
Okay.
If I played centre-back, then I would blame myself. If no one's going to close him down, then you're all at fault. I would rather they all closed him down.
You like him very much. That becomes apparent now.
Well, and then the second goal, he's ball watching and then decides not to mark Sertic, who scores a free header, a ridiculous free header in the box. He's got the entirety of Park OL to take the header for that one. And then the third one, yes, it takes a massive deflection, but I come back to my analogy earlier where he doesn't stick or twist. He waits for Menez to approach him. He tracks back a little bit. And just when Menez is about to pull the trigger, he just puts his leg out, and then it hits his leg and goes in. So it is still, even though it's a free goal, it's still his fault, really. But let's talk about Bordeaux. And they took advantage of another game where they got offered the opportunity to win it, really, because of Gonalons sending off, and they took full advantage. And that's 2 wins on a row, and they look like they might be building some consistency here. Do you like the look of them at the moment?
I reckon, it's better than last season, thanks to Menez. I think it's still quite an ordinary outfit who has a very good goalkeeper. I mean, Caruso did pull out some blinders on Saturday. There was one header which he tipped onto the bar. There was I think a shot from Jordan Ferry midway through the second half that would have meant that there would be 2-1 down instead of 2-1 up. So it was quite a spirited display. But one, like many other sides, I don't think they have the actual quality of being up there in, shall we say, the top 6. To me, it looks like a decent outfit. But had you played, shall we say, seriously, I don't think this defeat would have happened. Even though Menez is really turning out to be a great asset to the squad, and the players around him are playing extremely well. It's a good start, but I just don't see some actual quality in there.
They have some really interesting attacking options, I think, in those areas. I think Malcolm, although his goals may be a little bit lucky, he's impressed me at times. And Menez is a really good signing to add to the mix of, although he's not really played as much as in Adam Munas and Tomatore and and Diego Roland. I think they might be interested. They're slowly growing in confidence. I think a win like this will give them maybe the boost they need. But congrats to Bordeaux. And
the thing is, we didn't see Roland.
Yeah,
so, I mean, we saw Menez, we saw Malcolm. Was that goal? We saw Unas. Unas had a really good game, but we didn't really see Roland.
He needs to reset.
It was a bit of a shame.
And congrats to Bordeaux, but Lyon now have to turn their focus, as many do, to Europe. And there are 5 Ligue 1 teams in European action this weekend. And we've mentioned the big headline game on tomorrow night, which is PSG hosting Arsenal. Eric, what are your thoughts ahead of this one?
I think PSG should be confident. I think that with Di Maria and Cavani back in the side, and Lucas in fine form, I think he's had a great start to the season. I think that PSG are ready to take this game to Arsenal. With Silva fit again, you've got one of despite what you might think of him as a person, still one of the best center backs in the world, alongside Marquinhos. I do worry a bit about the fullback positions. Kimpembe starting there doesn't really give much thrust going forward. Meunier, might not be sound enough defensively, but I think it should be a good occasion. Prediction-wise, I probably look at a score draw, and PSG will hope to take points off, maximum points off their other opponents as they did last year. But yeah, it should be an entertaining match, and I think that if PSG do win and do so in decisive fashion, I think it'll be a real feather in Emery's cap. I think the players should be fired up for this one, and be ready for a chance to prove their doubters wrong.
Yeah, this is a big game for Unai Emery, isn't it, Philip? Because this is one of the reasons, really, why PSG brought him in.
Not necessarily in my book. I think they brought him in because they wanted to change the manager, and that a more continental approach would have enabled them to do that. I believe they really did not appreciate this 3-5-2 episode with Manchester City, and they wanted to change. I mean, Blanc did stay for PSG for a solid number of years. So getting to the Champions League knockout stage is almost a given for any PSG manager. I think if Unai fails this in that group, with Basel and Ludo Goretz, I think he's gone. But it's not as daunting a task as it used to be. I mean, sorry if there are any Arsenal fans listening. They still have a quite big dependency on Özil. Sanchez, to me, has not played to his to the levels he can play, and to me, as a defence, whatever back four we may throw at them tomorrow, I think it will be quite good. I mean, probably better than there. So this is why I think PSG should not be worried or not at all scared by Arsenal. Just as the Arsenal way will suit PSG's style. This is basically what I believe. This is why it'll be a quite open game, quite good as well. That's good. I mean, it's really. I mean, it's nothing to be. There's nothing to be afraid of tomorrow evening.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it's two sides that are going to really go for it, and we've mentioned already that neither have really got off to the ideal start to the season, but they both have people that create danger in opposing boxes. You've already mentioned that although they've struggled at times so far this season, PSG have still got Lucas, Cavani, Di Maria that can cause problems, and Arsenal have Sanchez and Özil, and it's going to be a really interesting attacking game. So, Eric, where do you think PSG might find the most success against a team like Arsenal?
I think in the movement of Di Maria and Lucas, both of them are able to play fantastically well on either flanks, and to keep the two of them guessing, I think that's to keep the Arsenal's defense guessing with the two of them. We have, obviously a defense that's still getting to its feet in terms of the absences of Mertesacker or Gabriel, whether they'll have Mustafi available. Koscielny's a potential doubt. Maybe Rob Holding comes in. Whatever this is, Arsenal's center backs are not going to be, at their optimum, as it were. I think that the dynamism that they can offer with the 4-3-3 is going to give them a lot of trouble. And again, in that regard, I mentioned this earlier. I do think Rabiot should start over Matuidi. Maybe bring Matuidi in if you need to close out a result. But Rabiot offers so much more going forward with his physical size, his speed, his ability with the ball at his feet, that Emery should opt to have him in that role.
Philip, just before we move on to the next game, let's get we've heard Eric's little prediction. What's your prediction for this game?
I'm gonna say 2-1 to PSG, just for saying that the defenses are not great, and it should be quite an open game. I'd be very surprised if it was a stalemate, for instance.
Yeah. It's going to be a really interesting one. This and another game in Champions League, but this time on Wednesday is Lyon as they host Dinamo Zagreb. Eric, we've mentioned already that Lyon have had a lot of struggles, but this is really in their group a crucial game to get off to a good start, isn't it?
Yeah, 3 points are absolutely imperative if they need to progress. I mean, Zagreb are set up to be the whipping boys of this group. I don't really know much about them at this point in time, and they are a team that has a fantastic reputation for producing talents that have gone out around Europe, the likes of Luka Modric, Mario Mandzukic, for example, are just two of them. But at the same time, being Lyon without Lacazette, I'm not sure what you do there. Maybe you start Cornet will probably start as a striker, but then you've got maybe Kalulu and Ghazal to either side of him. Is that a front three that's going to really strike fear into their hearts? They're going to really need a lot from their midfield. Corentin Tolisso has been important going forward in the recent past. I think he's going to need to be at the top of his game for Lyon to break into this. Might be, hopefully, if he's fit, the right time for Christophe Jallet to come back at right back. We've seen how his directness and his physical presence can be important for Lyon going forward. I think that could be something that, he's a player with a considerable experience and be ready to go for a big match. But yeah, I'm really worried about this being a 0-0 because I think Zagreb will certainly see Lyon's injury woes, be ready and willing to set up in a negative fashion, hoping to sop up the pressure and just come away with a point. So if that is the case, I think Lyon could be in for a really long night. They're going to need to have some moments of brilliance from perhaps unexpected sources in order to get 3 points from this.
Yeah, and this is a Zagreb side that has lost a number of players over the last couple of years. That just to mention a few youngsters that have left this summer, and Marco Piaccia's gone to Juventus, and Brozovic is official moved to Inter, and Marco Rogu's on loan at Napoli now. Philip, do Lyon, especially at home, really go for this one? Do they try and take the initiative in this one and get those 3 points, or are they trying to learn from the mistakes from last year and not trying to go too hard for the win and risk facing another Ghent situation?
Well, actually, they have to, because this is on paper the game that they must win if they don't want to finish fourth again. And this is almost like a poisonous gift. It means that they should win this comfortably, but if they don't, they'll get criticized and have a lot of pressure. Because I'm pretty sure that would rather play against Sevilla or Juventus right now, so that they could play away from home. One of the toughest games of the group would be Juventus away, Sevilla away. But the calendar has spoken. So you are playing at home to Zagreb, and they have to go all out for the win. They don't really have a choice in this. So that's at least if they score a couple of goals, have a decent goal difference there, they'll be top of the group, which would be quite morale boosting. That's okay. I think they will. I mean, I don't think Zagreb, no disrespect, but I think you want to have better quality players. But we all saw what can happen with good organization, and good forward planning, and a couple of lucky breaks with Ghent. So you never know, but we all hope that there's going to be 3 points, and it would be nice if it would be emphatic. We are hoping for that.
Yeah, it kind of needs to be in a strange way. But Eric, what's your prediction in this one?
I I will go with a scoreless draw, unfortunately.
Philip?
2-0 Lyon.
I'm going for a comfortable 2 or 3-0 for Lyon as well. I think this Zagreb side have lost a couple of young, decent players, but they always bring a surprise.
We just need Zagreb to do us all a favour.
Yes,
this is what we need them. We need them to be rubbish at the back. Probably give the ball to Cornet, who may score goals, which I doubt he will. But I think there will be goals in there.
Also, just on that Wednesday night is Monaco's trip to Wembley Stadium to take on Tottenham Hotspur, which will hopefully be packed out for that one. Philip, Monaco are in good form after their good victory against Lille at the weekend that puts them top of the table. Can they go with this in full confidence against a team that is probably their nearer rivals in this group?
Question: why are Spurs playing at Wembley?
It's an agreement with the stadium. They've had an agreement to play Champions League football at Wembley Stadium instead of White Hart Lane for no particular reason at all. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it might be because they're renovating White Hart Lane soonish by the end of the season.
White Hart Lane's small. It's only 35,000 or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah. So that would be why.
But anyway,
they've played there before, so
yeah. Well, before this weekend, I wasn't all that enthralled by Spurs at all. Watching a couple of their games, but I was by Monaco, and they had an absolutely superb performance at Lille. Firmino's goal is great. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's a beauty of a volley. Djibril Sidibe proving what a good fullback he is. He can play both sides. So I don't know. Before on paper I would say Monaco would get demolished, but I did say the same thing about Villarreal. So I reckon this can be a pleasant surprise. I think that they have the quality to nullify players like Son or Dele Alli, who's had not. And Nathan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he's had the best start to the season. Harry Kane is not brimming with confidence as well, either. Sorry, but we have a Monaco side that is resilient, that has options up front. The options up front being Falcao and Carrillo instead of Valère Germain. Bernardo Silva, if he's on his game, he can provide some chances any time of the game. So yeah, I'm quite confident. I have no idea what the score will be. Don't worry, I'll give you one, but I don't not really sure what it's going to be. But yeah, I don't see, just like PSG against Arsenal, I don't see what Monaco have to be afraid of from Spurs. I mean, Monaco have a good defense. I think they have found Yardim has found this back four that he does like, even if he does play at three at the back sometimes. Glick and Jemison are starting to really gel together. That's good. That's really good. I'm really looking forward to this one. I won't be able to watch it.
I won't be surprised if they do go three at the back again for this one. But it's two sides that come in, Eric, that come into this game with 4 goals behind them at the weekend. It's the kind of form you'd want teams to go into Champions League games into, but it's probably not going to be an all-out attacking affair, is it?
No, I think that the 3-5-2 is probably a good bet at 3-5-1-1 for Monaco, playing Raji, Jemerson, and Glick at the back, Dirar and Sidibe on the wings, and then perhaps a central midfield of Moutinho, Bakayoko, and Fabinho, with Silva off of Germain. I think the removals of Silva and Germain at the weekend are a clear indication that they will start against Spurs on Wednesday. And I think they're going to be very hard to break down. They're going to be very dangerous on the counter. I think that in Nabil Dirar, you're looking at a player whose work rate's been absolutely fantastic this season. He received some bad press last year for the incident in which he was suspended for 6 matches, but I think that he's really, recouped his reputation, and I think that the work he's going to do and the physicality of this side of this team throughout. I mean, besides Silva and Moutinho, this is a team that is very robust physically, and I think that that has the potential to give Spurs rather a lot of problems. I know in Dele Alli and like Severik Dyer, you've also got that on the other side as well, but I'm thinking maybe the likes of maybe Christian Eriksen or an Eric Lamela. they're going to have a hard time perhaps establishing themselves in terms of getting into an attacking rhythm with how physically imposing Monaco are and how aggressively they can press when need be.
I'm really looking forward to this one. It's really interesting, especially if, like we say, Monaco try and flood that area where Spurs have the most success with Eriksen and Lamella and Dele Alli just in behind Harry Kane in those areas where. And then obviously the fullbacks have been very successful for them. They switched them a lot last season, and I don't know if they will in this game. I think it'll probably be Danny Rose and Kyle Walker starting, but those fullbacks are very important for Tottenham's attacking play as well. So if they flood those areas, that's probably where they're going to find the most success. And then, like you say, on the counter. But it's going to be a really intriguing game. It's one of those ones where if they make a mistake, they'll be punished by a team like Tottenham, and it's going to be a close one, but I'll get your predictions then. So, Philip, what do you think in this one?
I'm going to say 0-0.
After two 4-goal games, they
yeah, but Monaco have a good defense.
Yeah, Eric,
1-1.
I'm going to sneak a 1-0 Tottenham. I think it might just adjust.
Of course you are.
And I prefer Monaco as a team, but I think they'll just sneak it. I think we'll move on to the Europa League games now, and the first one will be Mainz hosting Saint-Etienne. Eric, what do you think of this one? It's Saint-Etienne are obviously coming off a high against a good result against PSG, but is this another game where they need to be defensively solid, or can they express themselves a little bit more in Germany?
On the road, I think they should play for a point. A very similar setup to how they had performed. On Friday night against PSG. I think Saive can move to the left wing, and you can perhaps have Hamouma or Bonapeke up top with either Beric or Roux. I do believe Beric will start, given he was rested at the weekend. Saive has played on the left during his time at Bordeaux, and I think that that'll give enough attacking thrust on the wings. Midfield, you're going to be looking at something similar. Selnesh has had a good start to the season. I do worry a little bit about goal. Let's not forget that Stéphane Ruffier is suspended for this match, and his deputy, Jesse Moulin, is a capable keeper, but he doesn't command the area. He's not as physically imposing as is Ruffier. I do worry a little bit about that an error a defensively sound performance could be undone by a goalkeeping error. So I think it'll be a strong match for Les Verts, but I would probably go for a 1-0 win for Mainz.
It's a close one, isn't it? And Philip, Mainz are coming off a pretty devastating result at the weekend where they lost a 4-1 lead to draw 4-4 against Hoffenheim. But
that's good.
Yeah, it's good for Saint-Etienne, isn't it? So do you think that they can cause them more problems again in those attacking areas?
To be honest, I think Mainz have lost a lot of players. We actually saw an ex-Mainz player score a quite wonderful goal, Bastia versus Toulouse. Everybody sees that free kick late on.
Bengtson,
that was Pierre Bengtson. I'm not sure if it's Pierre, but anyway, it was. So they actually loaned Bengtson to Bastia. They lost Baumgartlinger to Leverkusen, Solskjaer to Liverpool, and the rest is they did keep quite a good spine to the squad. So it's not going to be an easy game for Saint-Etienne, and I do agree with Eric that Saint-Etienne may be quite defensive-minded on that one. That Galtier will try and gauge his player to say, okay, is everyone fit? Is everybody willing to go to the next round? Stuff like that. Because some seasons they're not. Some seasons they are. That's we're not in Christophe Galtier's brain, so we just don't know that. But my gut feeling is that he will prioritize defense over attack.
And I'm going to go. What's your prediction for this one, Philip?
Probably 2-1 to Mainz.
I think I'm going for a 1-0 Mainz as well as Eric. I think they've got too many good interesting attacking players like Yoshinori Muto and Yunus Mali that will cause problems. And it would be nice to see Jonas Lorsel back, who's obviously a former Guingamp goalkeeper. So, and finally, we finish with another Franco-German affair with Nice hosting Schalke. Philip, that's a tasty tie for Nice to have to start off their Europa League campaign.
Yes. Schalke have had a quite an interesting summer as well, and I just can't see. There's a game is at Nice, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the game is at Nice. Having at Schalke, I couldn't have seen past a Schalke win. I think Schalke are very much motivated to get back in the Champions League fold. New managers, they keep changing managers every season. For the last few years, they've swapped quite a lot. Will be quite nice, quite fun to see Benjamin Stambouli if he does play at Nice. Not sure if he's in the squad or not. But I think there's quite a lot of quality at Nice. And is Favre going to go all alternate and say we don't care about Europe, all we care about is the league? Again, I'm not quite sure, but even so, I think man for man, I think Schalke are a bit better and probably more motivated as well. They don't have this useless cup competition that we call the Coupe de la Ligue, so may have more time for the Europa Leagues than Nice have. I can't really see past a Schalke win in this one.
Eric and Schalke put on a brave performance, although they did eventually lose to Bayern Munich at the weekend. And Marcus Feinstill's a really interesting manager for them to bring in, and they've got a lot of young, exciting players. Are they a little bit too much for Nice at this time?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they had, despite losing Zane, I think they had a really fantastic winter window, bringing in the legs of Embolo, Koke from Sevilla, Bentaleb, Abdul Rahman from Chelsea, Yevhen Konoplyanka also from Sevilla. I'd say probably a 3-1 win for Schalke, something along those lines. There's just a little bit too much quality there in terms of for Nice.
Yeah, once you were starting adding in players like Max Meyer and Leon Goretzka and even the class of Klaas-Jan Huntelaar up front as well, it really starts looking a little bit too much for Nice, and I think that might be the case.
Saying this, I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah,
because if Balotelli plays, Dante, if Favre puts the same 11 as against Marseille, if they're up for it, which I'm probably sure, I'm sure they probably won't be as much as against Marseille. Against a side that has the likes of Konoplyanka, it's very tasty. It really is very good.
This is a good European tie. Yeah. I agree with that one. But that's all we have time for this week. My thanks to Eric, Philip, and all of you listening at home. Join us on Thursday for the preview show, where we'll also discuss the Champions League and Europa League results. And then join us again here for the main show at the same time, at the same place next week. A bientôt and goodbye.